Hello, how are you? That's Aaron behind me. I've come up the coast from Girvan, a good 30 miles. And just a little bit further up is Camp Burn Beach, basking in the sunshine. I'm going to head there. It's such a lovely day today. Look at how clear that water is. And I don't know if you can see away in the distance on the horizon, but that's the Ayrshire Craig that I was talking about in the previous video. A speck in the horizon. Let's get in across these slippy rocks onto the beach and we'll walk along. Loads of seaweed, very slippy. There's these pools. Probably if I lifted those rocks up, a little bit of sea life underneath, but I'm not going to bother. I'll leave them at peace today. I'll go up here, see if I can get a closer look at Aaron. There's Aaron over there. Looks like there's a few paths going through there. So we'll see what that's like. Wow, here's another beach. Look at that view. This is totally secluded. Portencross is a hamlet and it's about 2 miles further up the coast from Seamill, which is where I was earlier in the video. And it's famous for its castle, which is further along the coast, looks like about a 10-minute walk. We'll go along there in a minute. And 2 piers. The first old pier, I think, is owned by the castle. And then the newer pier was built in the age of the steam travel, the steam ships that came down to the coast, like the Waverley, etc., the Jeannie Deans maybe. So they would come down the coast and stop off at all these seaside towns, and that's why it was built up there, but it didn't get used anywhere near as much as like Largs and further down the coast like that. But That's some of the history, but there's a morbid history about Portencross too, which I'll tell you about in a moment. On a dark and stormy night of October the 18th, 1913, an attractive woman named Mary Speir Gunn was in a cottage for sister Jessie and Jessie's husband Alexander. They were a well-to-do family, Alexander having owned businesses, a bakery, etc., further down the coast. This was not their cottage, they'd just moved into it in the May, and they were sitting in the living room that night. The two ladies were knitting, and Alexander was reading from a book, reading out loud, when suddenly a pistol shot was fired, followed by 5 others. 3 shots hit Mary, one of them piercing her heart, and she died on the spot. Another 2 bullets hit his sister Jessie, one of them lodging in her back. She survived, but was hospitalised for 3 months. And Alexander, well, he had 1 bullet that hit the index finger of his left hand. Now when the police were called, they could not find any evidence of who done it. Now, owing to there not being a phone in the house, it took a while for the police to finally get called, and they came along with a doctor, but by then it was too late. Mary had died. The murderer was never found, and even to this day, 2025, 112 years later, her murderer was never found. She did have a boyfriend in Canada, in Saskatchewan. Even he was investigated away over there, but nothing was ever found. And that is the morbid history of Portencross. Poor Mary Speir Gunn. She was aged only 51. Anyway, enough of the morbid history of Portencross. Let's go and have a look at this castle, shall we? So Portencross Castle was built in the mid-14th century and remained in use until a storm blew the roof off in 1739. Something so peaceful about just watching a yacht just gliding by. I wonder if they're heading up towards Greenock. This is Scotland at its best. You can't beat Scotland. For serenity, peacefulness. Yeah. And there's the pier. So the old paddle steamers used to come down the Clyde and pull in here at Portencross. As you can see, the pier's blocked off now to stop vehicles from going out and crashing through the rotten wood. There's a couple of fishermen out there enjoying the sun. Hopefully they've got a nice big fish for their tea tonight.